everyone, it's Pat here from Scrivener Art and Design. I'm going to be working on a commission painting and I want to show you my process. So I've done a digital mock-up for the client to get started. So I have a starting point and I'm going to be using that as my guide with some revisions as I go. I'll be working in acrylic, which is going to feel different because I've been working in cold wax and oil for most of this year. I think it's going to also be difficult because it's a diptych and it's going to be vertically stacked, which I always find a little more challenging with a vertically stacked landscape. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you how I block it in and start the first layers. This is going to be a longer process than one video will allow, so I'll be breaking it up into at least 2 parts and maybe 3. I'll see you on the other side. I'm starting here just sketching in, and I'm using a Posca pen to do this. My background has been toned with a variety of warm colors. I've got cadmium red and some cad orange and some Indian yellow. And you see me looking over to the side. That's where I have the reference photo on my tablet. So I put it up here on the screen so that you can see the digital photo that I had originally done as a concept drawing. So I'm loosely sketching this in. It's not, of course, set in stone. I'm not exactly going to follow it, but it's going to give me an idea of where I'm going, and you know, I'm using the photo reference as a guide only. There will certainly be some freedom and license for creativity in here. So now I'm just putting in some of the dark, and I'm using not black but actually dioxazine purple for my dark lines in this painting. Just using a small brush to kind of sketch over top of my sketch lines and get some dark values in the pre-painting. Now I don't usually work exactly like this, but because I'm working from a photo reference, this is how I'm going about it. I typically start with not much of a plan and work on a messy background and build up layers and see where it takes me. But when you're doing a commission piece, you need a little bit more of a plan to show the client and to go forward with, so that you end up with something that's similar to what your concept was. When I drew the digital painting, I did it as one piece and spliced it in half so I could get a nice connection. And that's why I wanted that strong vertical line between the 2 paintings to hook them together. So now I'm going to start working on the top one and blocking in some color. I'm using a flat, about a 1-inch brush, and I don't use expensive brushes, so this is a children's Crayola brush that I'm using, and Now I've switched up to a Purdy's house paint brush for this bigger area. And I'm just trying to block in some of my color here, not really worrying if it's the right tone or value, just trying to fill in my spaces at this point to get something down so I can keep building up layers. So it's good to use as big a brush as possible. This is something that I often forget to do and end up using a smaller brush than I should, but it's really helpful to make less strokes and get your paint in fast. And I'm sorry, I'm standing in the way of my painting process here, but you'll see it when it's filled in. I am painting this on an easel just because the two panels, when I put them up, they don't work on the wall the way my nails are spaced. So I am going to just paint it on the easel for this particular one. So I'm using a variety of cool and warm blues in here. I've got some ultramarine and some phthalo. And here I'm coming in with some Indian yellow or Acrylic. I think it was Acrylic yellow actually. So just trying to block in somewhere similar to what I had done. Like I say, I am not one for using a photo reference, so for me to actually have to try and follow it is a hard game. Now I don't use greens generally out of the tube other than the green gold color, but actually I have mixed this green up and I do prefer that. So now I'm starting on the lower portion and I'm going to block this one in, and then I'll make sure that they're married together at the junction point there so that they have a good flow between the two pieces of the painting. So nothing is too precious at this first point. It's just really about getting the color down and starting building up the first initial layer of paint. I guess the second, because I have the underpainting. So I've sped the video up 2 times, so I'm not painting quite this fast, and I've cut out some of the pondering and looking and the color mixing to try and shorten it up. I like to paint over the entire canvas, not just concentrate on one area, but if I have some leftover paint on my brush, I'm going to probably use it somewhere else, especially in this beginning initial stage where I'm just putting down the background. So you can see that this color is much darker than what I've got on my drawing, my digital drawing. And I will lighten that up as we go, but sometimes I like to work a darker shade underneath, and I'm working now wet into wet, and that's kind of blending the blue in with the titanium white. And again, I'm still using this small paintbrush. It's probably marginally small for what I'm doing here, and that is something that I need to work on, to work with a bigger brush. I typically use a lot of scrapers in my work, but because of this painting has so many smaller shapes going on in it, I'm brushing the background in. So now I pulled out that bigger brush. And again, this is a Purdy's paintbrush from the painting store, the hardware store. And they're reliable and they don't lose their hair. I really like them. So you don't necessarily have to use expensive brushes from the art store to get the look that you're trying to achieve. Now, because I have been working with cold wax and oil, for the most part, switching back to acrylic is proving to be challenging for me because I have discovered my love of blending, and it's so much more difficult with the acrylic to get that blended look. Let's pop them together now. And you can see they don't exactly match up, so I'm going to go ahead and work into both of them just to bring them together a little stronger. So you'll see colors changing, shapes changing. I hope you enjoyed that, and I can't wait to continue and get this one finished up. So tune in again next week and I'll show you the progress. Thanks so much for watching. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Have a great week, and I hope you get up to something creative.